got a letter. The RCMP are coming and they're taking all the property and destroying it with no compensation.
How long would it take for the RCMP to come knock and take my stuff?
The stress this has caused is constant. I've got a letter, well, an email, pardon me, a letter mail that has been sent to us.
We get letter mail.
Yeah, we do. We actually do. But this is an interesting email that I received, and this was back at the end of May. And I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit because it was a little bit longer than this. So the letter reads, and it's from a CCFR member, Mike. He says, "Good morning, Rod and Tracy. I'm 61 years old. I've been a hunter and a target shooter all my life. I hold an RPAL. My wife and 2 daughters also have firearms licenses. I'm a CCFR member, angler, and hunter, and a member of the 𝐿𝐴₂ Gun Club in Ontario. Before the Liberal government brought in their new handgun laws, my 85-year-old father was clearly in denial. He simply did not believe the Canadian government would ever put a freeze on handguns. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and soon after, the handgun freeze was implemented and my window to transfer the guns into my name was closed. I'm now left wondering how I'm going to be able to save my rightful inheritance from landing in the hands of the RCMP. The stress this has caused is constant. The only alternative I have come up with to save my father's handguns is to transfer them to an American friend I have who lives in Pennsylvania and has agreed to take them for safekeeping until we finally put a leader in place that will end this nightmare. I've contacted the CFO and they've informed me that I can transfer my handguns to my American friend. The other benefit that this will provide is if the government does not change, I hate to even think of that, it will allow me a place to go to legally use the handguns. To my knowledge, this is the only way I can see to save my father's legally obtained property. I'm sure there are many other Canadians in the same position. Feel free to share this last resort idea with anyone you know. Thanks for taking the time to read this. I appreciate all of your efforts and stand behind you on everything you're trying to accomplish." So that was Mike.
Oh, Mike. I think about that too. You know, if something happened to me and my family and my widow would be here grieving, you know, how long would it take for the RCMP to come knock and take my stuff? Like, for what?
And it's interesting because they call it a freeze. They don't call it a ban. It is a ban because
It's a ban.
If Mike's father passes away, the RCMP are coming and they're taking all the property and destroying it with no compensation. That's the way it's set up right now.
Yeah, it's that in itself is tragic. It shouldn't be like this. And meanwhile, crime has never been higher. So
yeah, violence has never been worse. I wanted to bring this up for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is a real life story of the impact or the consequences of the Liberals' approach on gun control. It's only affecting people like Mike and Mike's dad. It's not having any effect on the lives of people that would use firearms in violent interactions. You can show as much proof as you want, but because it's an ideological issue, the hard radical leftists in Canada that have been pushing for this forever, they'll never understand it because it's ideological. They couldn't care less about evidence. But one of the other reasons why I did want to bring this up is it gives us an opportunity just to let people out there know, if you have newly prohibited firearms, like handguns specifically aren't prohibited. They've done this through other means, but you also have the newly prohibited firearms from May 2020 and all the variants. You can export these firearms, okay? You can call the Firearms program for help on that. You can deactivate them and in a last-ditch effort to actually save the physical firearm that will never fire again. Or you can sell them to a business that may want them. Now, most businesses don't want anything to do with any of these prohibited firearms because they're worthless to them. They can't resell them. Another thing that our friends over at Poly love to lie about, right? They're like, well, you can sell them to a business. It's like, yeah, for like $100, $2,000 rifle for, you know, whatever, $250. Because what's the business going to do with them, right?
No,
so
they can't.
and you may find a business that you could transfer or sell or whatever that firearm to them to be kept on premises until the government changes. That might be an option too. So anyway, you do not have to surrender these guns is the whole point for destruction. There are other options between now and when this horrific nightmare of a government finally moves to its end.
Can't come soon enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for everybody other than a handful of crazy people.
Remember, if you don't stand up for your own ability to own and use firearms, who will? Join the CCFR or donate right now at www.firearmrights.ca.